Hey everyone, I used to be an art critic and I'm going to review the Kendrick Lamar show because it was one of the best pieces of art. It was just completely genius and it filled me with hope to see such excellence. I look like I'm crying because my mentor who had taught me how to be an art critic, my old boss, passed away the other day, and he taught me how to see art, which is kind of like what Kendrick is doing. He's showing the audience how to see. Because what he's doing is like doing lots and lots of layers of meaning. So on one layer, you have people like shouting A minor, and they all think it's like making fun of Drake. But he got this whole audience to sing along to a song that he had actually subverted and made it political. It was a big political statement that was about people rising up against like oppression and white supremacy. American flag, and you've got Trump. You hear it? There's a cheer. And it's, the military. Like, that's what's going on. But we got to remember what had happened in Trump's first term when the Eagles had won, and at the time a lot of football players were taking the knee as solidarity with Black Lives Matter and showing resistance against racism and police brutality. And Trump had been like, don't do it at the game or whatever, and had just been messing with them. So when they traditionally invite the winners to come to the White House, they had a bunch of players just refused to go, so they had to basically like cancel the event because they weren't showing up. So that was kind of humiliating for Trump, right? So here he is showing up to a football game, and presidents don't go to football games. They're not at them for a reason, because it's like a little trashy, right? Like, the football game is a moment of everyone coming together to watch sports. It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about football. And when a president shows up to it, it's kind of like a political thing. Now it's about the president. It's taking attention away from the game. And it's like a moment where you don't talk about political stuff. You're like into sports, So it's just this narcissistic moment too, to be showing up at that. So this halftime show takes place in that context. And it starts off in this sort of like, this is how the football game starts off. And then midway, there's this virus, because great art can often be sort of like a virus. It's not just pretty or entertaining. It cuts through. And there could be something like upsetting about it, like half the people hate it and half the people love it. That's what kind of what avant-garde is, right? Like it's not for everybody. So what Kendrick did is for some people, it's for the culture. It's not for the mainstream. So a lot of people aren't going to understand what was going on. It's not really speaking to them. And that was intentional. It's speaking undertones. He's got like layers and layers of meaning built up, puns upon puns, like wordplay that is doing like 4 things at once every single second. It was just so packed through. So this is a very long, but I hope insightful and raises up your spirits kind of critique, so that we can understand what Kendrick was doing better and also follow what he said and rise up. It's a tic-tac-toe board game, but it's also a video game piece, right? It's got like a PlayStation like symbols on it, and it's also a football game. And then this other layer that he's going to add on to it is this political game. Sam, Uncle Sam. Says it. Doesn't mean football. He means politics. And we start off at this kind of like on top of a car, crouched in darkness. He's alone. I think that's kind of like, hey, here you are. You're alone. Stuff is really dark. What's going on here? What's that? That is a clown car. Where are all these people coming from? So clowning is just the traditional art form of making fun of the powerful. You mock them, you do a satire, it's a parody. So he's just spelling it out. He's like, this is going to be a clown routine. I'm going to be parodying. Clowns are the ones who can make fun of the king. They're like a jester thing. It's also like he was all alone in the darkness, but now he's got a whole bunch of other people. Like, you are not alone. That's another poetic message in there. you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't get the picture if I had to sit you for hours at the Louvre. So that's like speaking to everybody. Like we would get it. You don't get it. It's not for people you need to explain it to, like I'm doing. Okay, what was that? He just says it, right? All right, so the revolution is about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy. So it's very literal. He's like, I'm about to do a protest. This is the right time for me because it's the right time politically. This is when it's needed. This is the right time because it's a big audience. But you picked the wrong guy because I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to do this protest. So there's that. But I think this is actually the most controversial moment in the show, because you can also like counteract it if you're into like Black radical politics and say the revolution is not televised, because there is this idea of if you do protest inside of the institution, like inside of the Super Bowl or TV or in entertainment like this, then you are legitimizing that institution and that platform too. So you could say that, you could counter and be like, well, this is even though your intentions are to do protest, you are still supporting and reinforcing those structures of like white supremacist politics. You could do that. Or, you know, I think it actually does do what it says. I think it is actually a protest. But it's important to note that there's a counter narrative at this one little juncture, because real revolution, real protest isn't entertainment. It's like marching on the streets. I think that entertainment and art can be an action because it's a force that can disseminate this kind of, and like educate and change the direction a lot of people want to go, right? Like it's this could be like a wake up, here's the facts, like hopeful moment, because we've had like a rough 2 weeks, right? It's just started, but it's been kind of crazy. So here he is like speaking to the audience, the culture, being like, I'm gonna do this one for you. I'm gonna televise this for you. I don't know if you saw all the people coming out. They're all Black, but they're also like half woman, because I think that's also important. I thought there was a lot of like female power in the show too, on purpose, and like recentering, because like what the right has done is sort of very misogynist too. No. Now he gets interrupted. Too ghetto. Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up. Uncle Sam isn't just Uncle Sam, right? Uncle Sam, he's representing, sure, like the white supremacist leadership, telling Black people to get back in their place, that they're being too loud, that it's not the way that they want them to be. But he's also within the culture too. Like there's also the Uncle Tom character that's important in like the history of minstrel shows, and where like this reference of this Uncle Sam character is coming from, where it's like, well, within Black people too, we've got people who are towing the line for the ones in charge, trying to, you know, climb up by pushing us down. And there's a little bit of that betrayal. It goes right into the division of the American flag. So it's divided red and white. You know, that could be Republican, Democrat. But it's also, if you look at the colors, it's also like the Crips and the Bloods. And there's also division historically in the civil rights movement too. Like there's a history of division, and whenever you have like political upheaval and movement building. But this is just speaking directly to like multiple layers of division. And he's also saying, like, these are all black people making the American flag. He is reclaiming American identity as black identity. Yeah, we are Americans. Like, we're the ones who built this country. And then he says, be humble. This is a good moment where it's like, it's a rebuttal towards Sam, you know, like Uncle Sam. He's like, yo, you be humble. But he's also like, I'm gonna be humble, which then he subverts a little bit again in the next song where he like goes into DNA, where he builds up his character. This is kind of like a journey through multiple identities one can have as an American, as a Black American specifically, of hey, you're supposed to be humble, you're not supposed, it's just like a lot of layers of like, do this, don't do that, like that, you know, like, who am I? Who are we? And who are them? That American flag, the division erupts into this confusion and chaos where they're just running about in a panicked state. Like, they don't know where they're going. And if you see like the whole dance kind of like area on the football field, it's also a lot like a prison yard. Like, the lighting on it, it evokes both LA streets where there was riots and protests, but also evokes like a prison yard. So it's a squared in play area. And especially in this sort of middle spot, you can see he is directly referencing like the prison industrial complex with like the lighting, and people's outfits here with the lighting look a lot more like prison yard uniforms. They're marching and he's asking, have you ever played? Here, watch your enemy with a poker face, right? So if you're gonna play this game with them, you're gonna have to not let them see your cards. You're gonna have to be like, because if they know what you're really doing, they'll get you. So you can't let on. You have to be underground. The way he's kind of actually doing with this halftime show. So, like, you know, people climbing all these lampposts is another sort of like protest move that people do. And these are just like, you know, his friends hanging out in the stoop with their girls. Like, they've got Compton culture. Like, who do you want me to be, America? Like, do you want the dangerous me or the famous me? It's like part of the thing about what you need to do in order to fight and retain your rights and, you know, hopefully go for like a more liberatory future is to reclaim your identity into the whole show is this uniting theme. Cheat code. Deduct one life. I mean, like, those are stakes. This is beautifully choreographed, by the way. Like, with cinematography, is genius. Genius. I tell you. Look at those camera angles. Like, there's an infinity of us. But there's also, like, it's very white around him, right? Now they're singing on top of the X. You know, they moved from the square. X is like, you know, on your game console, it's like, yes, I pick it. He's talking about like the choices that we make. So you have people lined up. You see people out on the outside. They can't get inside, like all the women in red. And on the inside is all white. Oh, hinting. So meanwhile, the crowd thinks that he's speaking to them. They're like, oh my God, is he gonna diss Drake? Oh my God. You know, there's like this American Dream fantasy play going on here. It's all nice, it's all chill. Now we're on the triangle, and the angle that they came up on it, which was all well chosen, that is a queer symbol. It might seem like I'm reading too much into things, but I'm not, because when you are an artist at this caliber, Pulitzer Prize winning, every single tiny thing is intentional. Like, that is what makes art good, instead of just like, oh, you know, okay, but like great is there's nothing by accident. Like her hair color, her outfit, the camera angle, the smoke, the darkness in the background, like what are we doing here? Every single thing is well thought out. Very much like Soldiers. But massive, right? It's all like, look, this is like what movement looks like. This is like people gathering around. They're all taking up different squares and spaces. They're organized. I hate those that feel entitled, he said. Me too. Me too. So look, it's a small percentage who I'm building with, and that's going to be true for everybody who is wanting to protest and make a statement. You're going to be working in small groups. That's how you build. You make little small groups, and they all get together eventually. But you also want to be with people you trust. I like how the AI subtitles just cannot keep up. Oh no, it's Uncle Sam, Uncle Tom again. Don't mess this up for me. I need you to stay in power. You guys work with this. This is play the game. He just said 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. I'm going to do this song, but I'm not doing the song, you know? It's bigger than that. And the 40 acres and a mule is a reminder that they don't keep the promises they make to us. Y'all remember? There's an entire history of broken promises. Don't trust them. Don't fall for it. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. So, you know, like, it's poetry, but it's also very literal. You know, I mean, it's okay, it's not literal, it's figurative. It's figurative. It's also very figurative. You gotta look at that smile. Because this is like the show. There's this joyous pride. Gloria, I think this is mom's name, right? And the little letter A, because it's A minor. Like, that's also part of it. The football cap, NFL cap, worn backwards. Like, every single detail is well thought out. Like, his outfit is having layers of meaning. I'm subverting this football game. I'm going back to my roots and honoring who I am, my family, and I'm also still making fun of Drake. Like, it's just a lot. It's all the things, you know? It's all the things at once. Look at that. What was that? All right, it's only on screen for a second. But those are dead bodies where you would do a chalk outline. They've all fallen down dead. So it might be entertaining in a sort of musical way. And the puns and the jokes and the multiple layers are fascinating. And it's like, wow. But it's also not funny. This is like the flat level layer of meaning, that the stakes are really real. These are like, people are going to die. People have died. Cops killing Black people, jailing Black people. Like, it's a constant reminder of racial injustice and oppression. So this is another little key moment. They not like us. US is us. But he's defined it really clearly now to this point. They is all the elite, and they want you to play this game. We are the ones dying out here. Okay? Like, we're us. We're the US. He's already defined us and creating the identity of us as Americans, as like reclaiming that flag. And here, look, they've taken over all the squares. The whole board is actually the people. The game, which is rigged, that they want us to play, we're actually like the superior force. There's more of us than them, you know? And we have to occupy all these different strategies, all these different spaces. We gotta occupy them. Well, you know, Miss Sports Star over here, also Drake's ex, crip walking, which she had done, I think was at Wimbledon, right? And then she got a lot of flack for it because it's not appropriate. Uncle Tom or Sam was like, you know, the finger wagging of like, this is not how we want you to behave. And Yeah, it's another Drake diss, but it's also elevating like black excellence. Oh look, she's like on my hand. She's amazing, right? She's like a sports superhero. It's also just like really full of joy at this time too. Fun. See, here they've united. Like the Crips and the Bloods that are in their uniforms, they're one. This is the action he wants you to take. Turn this TV off. So what is the TV is not just a TV. Like he's like, first of all, he's on TV right now. He's like, stop watching this football game in one layer. And then he's like, because he's like, don't feed into it. Stop watching the political game, the propaganda. Because what you're seeing all the time in the media now is just like chaos, 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 tons of stuff. Like it's, your attention is being grabbed. So he's also like, tune out from that game. And another layer of meaning is turn this TV off, the whole game. Turn the game off. Like the political game. Start protesting. Have a strike. Like, call some people. Don't sit around. Now he's got everyone lined up, organized. What you do not see show is that a guy ran through, one of the dancers had a Palestinian and Sudanese flag. As if, no, that wasn't it. No, they cut it out. Because you see, that is why the revolution cannot be televised, because they're the ones who have the keys to the TV and they can cut those scenes out that they don't want. This one is an entire thing slipping under the radar. It says game over, that's clear. He also says, turn the TV off, turn his TV off. We're also his entertainment. We're also like the lifeblood for Trump, It's just a call to rise up, but it's also is a rising up. I think he took over the halftime show and staged a protest that looked like a choreographed musical number. And it wasn't. It looked like one, but the message was really clear. Our civil rights are getting taken away. Who are you at this moment? I'm telling you who I am. I am my mother's son. I'm a person with all these friends. This guy, Trump, he's just like Drake. He's also a pedophile. This guy, Trump, he's like Drake. He's also a superstar, and I brought Drake down. Like, he's not as cool anymore because I made fun of him. And narratives can have that power to deflate and change what people think about something. So he's trying to do that again. And he's like, you guys, the public, my people I'm speaking to, people in the culture, you have the power to do what I did, to speak out and change the story that we're being fed. It ends full circle because he started off with the call for the revolution to be televised. Here he's reminding you, turn the TV off, turn his TV off, that the revolution is not actually televised. Kind of like a humble position. He's not saying what I just did here was the revolution. So I think that goes back to that weird like little juncture point where I'm like, this is a dividing, kind of divisive point too for within like a movement, whether or not like a show like this can be a protest if it's done like on a stage like that, that's giving sort of credit and, playing with the commercialization of Black culture too, right? But he's smart, so he's so smart. So it just comes full circle to be like, you guys, no, I wasn't saying I'm leading a revolution here. He's coming from a place of humility, reminding, doing an art piece, and telling us the revolution needs to be on the street to fight for their rights that are being taken away. Let's just check out this final moment. Turn the TV off, smiling, points at you. And it goes back to the sponsorship of like a big tech company of the Super Bowl that Trump is at, right? So it was just like this one virus inside of that show, subverting it. But at the end of the day, he's not still on. It changed right back. And he points at you and you understand the message to turn it off and get political.